Hey there. It is Lotus, Art of Sacred Embodiment, and this video is going to be for those of you who are walking the path of sacred partnership or divine union. So I talked in a previous video a couple weeks ago about the stages between the more conscious relationship, sacred relationship, and divine unions. And what I haven't really talked about very much is this shift up into the divine union template. So this is a newer template that's coming in with the higher dimensional frequencies that moves us more out of any sort of karmic patterning. So, karmic relationships are how many of us start learning. So one of the things that I like to encourage people is not necessarily to label our relationships, as bad. Like, it might not be a healthy relationship, to recognize that that's not healthy rather than good or bad. Why is that? Because every relationship in in our developmental stages are karmic relationships, meaning we come together with people in order to learn how to heal our wounds. We attract people to us and vice versa who are going to be a good frequency and vibration and wounding match in order to heal that. Now the problem is if both people don't recognize that this is what's happening. It's all about karma, particularly if you're younger, let's say, in your, 20s, early 20s, late teens, like when you hit that point of the bigger, deeper feelings, when you start moving into some of those more committed feeling relationships, whether they're healthy or unhealthy, usually they're going to be karmic relationships. So we come together, it's dramatic, right? It might be painful, it stirs up our wounds, and then we, break up perhaps and move on along a series of relationships that might not be quite the same, but we're still healing. Ideally, we're healing. I'm just going to keep it with we're healing. So we're healing until we've done a lot of that deep healing karmically with another person. Then we can start moving into the conscious relationship. There's still karma there, right? We're still working through, fears and wounds and triggering trauma perhaps, but we're learning how to communicate these things. We're learning how to take responsibility for these things, for our own pain and suffering. We're not projecting anymore. No one is doing this to us. Even if we're attracting, or we are in and of ourselves, a very wounded and destructive individual. There are a lot of labels that are floating around today that, I think are accurate because a lot of wounds are coming to the surface. And I also feel like, the labels are, how do I want to say this? For me, I feel like the labels are negating the fact that this is all wounding that we're working with. And if I'm attracting a narcissistic person to me, then there's a reason in me why that's happening, that I need to heal that. So I don't really use a lot of these terms, but that's just an example. So we're wanting to move through our karma so that we can move into a more conscious and present relationship dynamics. And conscious relationship holds that patterning, and you can go back. Maybe I'll link that relationship, link that video on here. And then there's the sacred partnership. When we get into sacred partnership, we're no longer, it doesn't mean that there isn't karma, that there's not lessons, but we've learned how to take full responsibility for our experience. We're learning how to deepen our own level of self-love, self-honor, trusting in ourselves, knowing what our truth is, and finding where do I compromise that is still going to be a healthy place for me. That means it will be a healthy place for the relationship. And, recognizing that if I'm with a partner who may not want to make the same compromises, it's no longer rejection, right? It's more about their choosing their highest good, which in turn will be the highest good for both, even if that means we're no longer together. So divine union takes us into a little bit more of an even higher frequency place and space. So again, we want to remember we are always evolving. This is the quickening of humanity's evolution on this planet. And relationship, intimate relationship, romantic relationship has been really, really wounded as a whole. The masculine and feminine archetypes or expressions have also been deeply, deeply wounded and distorted. And as we move through these stages of development in higher consciousness, we're healing those distortions. So I'm going to read a little bit. I'm not going to maybe read this whole thing that I've been given with the guides that I work with around divine union and sacred partnership. So what they're saying is the new timelines are introducing deeper qualities / frequencies of tenderness, softness, and an openness to our innate innocence. The invitation is for a sustaining joyfulness remaining in present presence. So let's just talk about that for a moment. This will probably be a couple series of videos. So they're telling us that we're getting new timelines in. And those of you who have been working along the path of relationship, who have come into deeper self-love, who have learned how to, come home to you completely, not relying on relationship, not needing external relationship because you've been doing the inner marriage, okay? So that inner union can be a part of the sacred relationship template. And that inner union is that we begin to fall in love, we begin to access our inner masculine and feminine and develop a healed relationship inside. This catapults us then into the divine union. So within the inner marriage, we work with the elemental alchemy. We work with the different expressions of masculine and feminine. And so what they're saying here is in these timelines within the divine union template, we're being called on to remember qualities of ourselves and of our being. And these are not just feminine, all right? So the tenderness, softness, and innocence might imply that, oh, these are more feminine expressions. But what they are is they're an alchemized quality that are both feminine and masculine. Each have their own expression of tenderness and softness and innocence. And when we have our own elemental union, and when we come into this inner balance, we recognize that feminine and masculine expressions are not at all black and white. There's a gradation of both. And they come together in a balancing and harmonious way with, we'll say, that divine union level of consciousness. I want to talk a little bit about the innocence piece of this. So this may not apply to everyone. And I'm just going to share like my own personal experience with this. So there are those people in our lives, I think, that we come, into contact with romantically. For many it's that first love. And I think that there's a reason for that, and that's pertinent. That our first loves, if they're healthy, they're going to carry that expression of innocence. And that innocence is that place where, things are new. And the first love is like firsts for a lot of things. And I don't want to segue off on the generations that we've had the last, 2 decades, because I feel like a lot of sadness about all of that. But I'm just going to stay on topic. So there's this innocence, right? When we're stepping into opening our hearts, we don't know yet. We don't know what that's going to do when our heart breaks, because we're wide open. We're wide open with, this is it. This is, this feels so good. There's a home, there's a way that it feels home, because we're actually coming more into ourselves. We're actually, if you've had one of these, you'll know what I'm talking about. You're actually in a alchemical container. Things are not as they seem, right? Where something else is happening. And that innocence is allowing us to be open and vulnerable and to feel deeply. And then when that ends, we understand the deep pain and suffering that comes from love, from romantic love, from like the one, so to speak. So most of the time, I certainly know I did. After that, I closed down and shut down for probably, I shut my heart down, and for, a very long time, until I started doing this deeper inner work and had to heal that. So I could open. It's not like I didn't feel love, but I couldn't stay open, because once we put ourselves out there, right, that fear of that pain again, that fear of that heartache of pain again. So we've lost a part of our innocence, and then life goes on, and maybe our life choices are not great, or our next relationships, because now they're really karmic, right? That karma has been activated, full force, and because things are not as they seem. So then goes a deep journey of healing through relationship, through romantic partnership, through those woundings. And then when we've done a lot of that work, we're not guarded anymore. We're not hardened anymore. We feel safe in loving just because we love, not necessarily because we have to even get it back in return, because we have accessed a higher love. We don't need it from outside of us, right? When we know that we are inherently lovable and loved and loving, not just from within ourselves, but through divine connection, we're able to receive it more in the world around us. And if we aren't getting that, it's okay. We know it's not that we aren't lovable anymore. So we don't have to feel that deep pain and heartache. So as that starts to happen, we can start to open up to that new innocence again, right? That new level of, that new old, right? That innate level of part of who we are. And this does not mean naivety. It means returning back to that pure state of knowing that we are pure love and we are open and available for that pure love. So within the divine union, templates, we'll also hear like the twin flame template cross over that. And the twin flames are usually, if you're on, let's just say from a higher twin flame perspective, there is that catalyst person in our life that has opened us up, that has shown us who we truly are, and we have done that for them, right? And once that happens, it does not mean that we're together, right? Then there's this journey of life and exploration and healing and this whole entire thing. And within that divine union template, I don't believe it has to always be a twin flame template, although they're often intertwined. That catalyst person and who we've been a catalyst for is innately like that other half of us. And so there is this exchange, right, that takes place through space and time, where a healing journey takes place through space and time in tandem. And as one of you heals, the other heals, right? So we're helping each other to heal and returning back to our original innocence and purity. Now, these aren't always done on the same time frames. Some don't, it just depends on each individual's journey. Let's just leave it at that. But when we come into a divine union, there is normally this level of understanding and of development and readiness and openness to move away from being guarded because we're deeply connected with the divine that is within us, the divine that is within the other person. So we're accessing higher frequency states of being, and we attract to us then from that higher level another person who has done the same level of, and gone through the same stages and phases of their own coming home to themselves, that inner union. And that may be then that those twin flames are able then to come into divine union. The way that I look at that journey as a connected journey is that the divine union template and those that are on that let's just say that teaching trajectory, right? This initiation of humanity trajectory, is that they do all this deep work separately. And energetically, they're helping one another to recalibrate, known or unknown. And and they're returning home to themselves, and they're balancing elemental alchemy, both within oneself and between one another, so that the harmonization and the synchronization will allow, if and when that time is right, for those two, that soul, to come home to one another and yet operate from, that pure state of remembrance of who they themselves are and who one another is, or at least able to be open to recognizing that now and to doing that work at this next developmental stage in order to, to activate more of that energetic on our planet. So it's a highly evolved and healed state of living and of coming into relationship. And it's an independence that's very interdependent. And both people really are able to anchor and know their own present presence, separately and together. Okay? So I'm going to read the next one, and then this is all for this one. So divine union is an ongoing, I guess I said some of this. Divine union is an ongoing mastery of alchemical unioning. There is a balancing of all polarities into a coherent signature that becomes a unique expression to each counterpart in the union. So when two individuals have harmonized to these higher frequencies, their divine blueprint carries a signature. It's a signature frequency that matches their divine counterpart. And those frequencies or qualities, I talked about this in a different video, they're the whisper. They're not loud. They're not like tons of chemistry, right? Like compelling us through our base level chakras. It is that tenderness and softness of both the masculine expression. It is giving, it is receiving. It is being open and having the courage, even if you're not always right there, because there still are humanness, but there is that readiness to open, to be vulnerable, to know that we have our innate truth that we will honor no matter what, and yet how can we, and is it time, and is this the right expression through divine union to come together with a counterpart, right? So not all twin flames become divine unions. They might become soulmates, not soulmates, but they're more than that. But, they might have like a different mission. They might have a different expression that isn't romantic. So the divine union has a higher romance, even though I talked about that before. That's not really a word that's commonly used, but I prefer it. And so we're willing to trust in something bigger, because things are not always as it seems, because there's more happening beyond what we can see in the physical. We're being guided and supported through love, through divine love, to come together and anchor in a new level of deep connection that inherently is the divine loving through us and us loving the divine through another. So I think that's all I'm going to say on this topic right now, because it's a deep topic, and that's kind of a long guidance. And so the encouragement is, right, if you're on a path of relationship, you know, we are a relational species. Relationship is a part, you know, romantic, you know, partnership is a part of who we are for most of us. And it's recognizing what is each person's true level of relational connection that is right and true for them, not based on lack or need or having a big hole inside of us. Because if we need a relationship to complete us, then what starts to happen is that that's karmic. We're going to be operating only from karma. So we want to be aware of that. If we choose to be in relationship, choose to know things are not always as they seem. I'm using it a lot because I just did a video on it. And that there's higher levels trying to work and heal. It's not just about, oh, this is the person and I'm going to be with them forever, but it's so hard and I just have to keep like in this drama. That's probably not accurate, right? And we don't want to be in dangerous positions with deeply wounded people. And if we are, it's because there's something that wounded in us. So we might want to try to heal that separately on our own, right? With help, with assistance. And to just know this is where we're going. We're going. We have the potential now as humanity to go to amazing, amazing places where love is going to be much more who we are when we are no longer afraid of love. There are different kinds of love, different expressions of love, but love is really the fabric of life. So this is what we're starting to tap into. It's subtle, it's soft, it's gentle, it's honoring, it's supportive, it's strong in its own way, it's vulnerable, but that's also its empowerment. So I'm going to end there. So see where you are in this trajectory. And you can hop over to my website. I have other blogs on this topic. And if relationship is your path, and if you want assistance with moving through these stages, then definitely feel free to reach out to me. All right. Love and blessings.